Never a dull moment in the Big 12 Conference, and I think we've got a power rankings that most of you are going to be able to get behind this week. Welcome in. I'm Pete Mundo. We're Heartland College Sports, where we talk about, cover, analyze, and just BS about the Big 12, and that is what many of you call this. But I'm cool with that, as long as you're watching and you're listening and you're enjoying the show. So thanks for being here, as always, as a part of it. And we will count down the power rankings on the show from 16 up to number 1, the top team in the Big 12 this week. And remember, it is very subjective. It is based on, obviously, your body of work, but also, what have you done for me lately? That's what the power rankings are all about here at Heartland College Sports. So welcome in. Let's get into it. And let's start at number 16. That is where the Oklahoma State Cowboys reside. The good news is that they couldn't lose to the bye week. They tried, but they could not lose to the bye week. So Oklahoma State stays at number 16 this week. At number 15, I am moving Utah down from 14. That's after a blowout loss to Colorado. They had an early lead, and Utah's a mess. They are banged up across the board. It's amazing how different one year can be. Last year, these two teams, Utah and Colorado, met in the regular season finale. Utah won 23-17. They finished 8-4. Colorado finished 4-8. Here we are 1 year later. At number 14, I've got Arizona. They move up from 15 after beating Houston on Friday night. Still not a lot to like about this team, but hey, you snap a big losing streak. You feel a little bit better about Houston here. About Arizona this week after the win over Houston. At number 13, UCF. They stay at 13. They had a bye week as well. No movement from the Knights, who have lost 6 of their last 7 games. But if they beat West Virginia and Utah, they are bowl eligible, which would get some people off of Gus Malzahn's back, at least for now. At number 12, Cincinnati comes in at number 12 in the power rankings this week. And listen, they're definitely better in year 2 under Scott Satterfield, but there is still a ways to go. And here's the thing. They've got to win one of their final 2 games to get to bowl eligibility, either K-State or TCU. Neither of those are going to be easy. They could lose both. They could win both. It's more likely they lose both than win both. In which case you'll say, okay, improvement, but man, that season did not end all that well. At number 11, well, West Virginia. Can this team ever get a win outright as an underdog? Is it possible for West Virginia to win a freaking game as an underdog? They just don't do it. It's so frustrating to watch this team if you're a fan. And I like Neil Brown. I am rooting for Neil Brown, but dang, you're a 2.5-point dog at home against Baylor, and Baylor basically runs you out of the building, for crying out loud. It's just so frustrating if you're a Mountaineers fan, because you have these moments where you say, okay, all right, maybe, and then don't come crashing back down to earth. I mean, it's just, it is frustrating. It really is. You look at some of the games this season, and I know you might say, well, they beat Arizona. They were an underdog there, right? You can look at that game and you can say that. And I get it. Same thing with Cincinnati. But I'm saying a home game in a relatively big spot with something on the line. The last 2 games they were dogs in. They did win, but they were on the road. It just feels like the Mountaineer faithful are the ones who continue to get the short end of the stick for any type of game you try to hype up in Morgantown. So I've got West Virginia this week at number 11 in the power rankings. Houston's number 10. They drop a couple of spots. Of course, they lost to Arizona on Friday night, maybe basking too much in their own glory of that K-State win from 2 weeks prior, coming out of that bye week. Ugly performance for the Cougars, but still, they've won 3 of 5 solid wins over TCU and Kansas State, and they are trending in the right direction. At number 9, TCU comes in at number 9 in the power rankings. They had a bye week as well, and big win over Oklahoma State 2 weeks ago. And how about this? Sonny Dykes can win out and go 8-4. That would certainly cool off a lot of the critics for TCU and Sonny Dykes. And if he does that, there's not much to say. Sonny Dykes will, I don't think he's going anywhere anyway. I really don't. But he's definitely not going anywhere if he goes 8-4 and wins the final 2 games of the season for the Horned Frogs, which is Arizona and Cincinnati. Very winnable games for the Horned Frogs. At number 8, Kansas State falling from 4. Kansas State does not look like the team that it was 1 month ago. Avery Johnson's missing confidence. He looks like he's regressed. The defense is shoddy. The special teams is far from special. And you got Chris Klieman getting emotional at the podium after the game, which was just odd. Something may be up. The rumors are swirling. I will talk about it here on the show. But the vibes of Manhattan are not good right now, on or off the field. Before we continue on the power rankings, thank you for being here. If you are not, subscribe right now. Like right now, to the channel, to the show, YouTube, Apple, Spotify. I know there's thousands of you watching who are here regularly, but you're not yet subscribed. So please do that. Helps us keep this show free, continue to grow it out. So thank you for being a part of it. And hit that thumbs up on YouTube and on Apple. If you would take a second out, leave that 5-star rating and review. I greatly appreciate it. We've been a little slow on the reviews lately on Apple and Spotify, so keep those coming. Thank you guys very much for doing that, because I know it sounds ridiculous to you, but it does make an enormous difference. That's why we bring it up at least once a show. Number 7 in the power rankings. Let's go to Texas Tech at number 7 this week. So I will admit the error of my ways. I probably have had Tech too high the last couple of weeks. They got a tough one in Ames, and that was a couple of weeks ago, but it looks less impressive with Iowa State continuing the struggle a little bit. Plus, they have lost 3 of their last 4 games overall. So I was a little too high on Tech these last couple of weeks. I readily admit that. I am moving them down to number 7 after a bye week. And a lot of that, too, is just by what happened in front of them this past week. Number 6, Iowa State, up from number 7. Back in the win column, they take care of Cincinnati at home. Second half, much better than that first half after a bit of a slow start. Run defense still remains an issue, but all in all, Iowa State is still in contention for a Big 12 championship game. Meantime, BYU comes in at number 5. The undefeated season is no more. They are down from 2 to 5. They were playing with fire in recent weeks against some mediocre to bad competition, and it finally caught up with them against Kansas. Yes, some fluke plays, some turnovers, but that shouldn't matter. If you are the far superior team, which BYU wasn't, then you end up losing the game, and that's what's happened. They've gotten some breaks throughout the season. They did not get them on Saturday night. I heard a lot of BYU fans in our reaction show, and I love you guys. I really do. It's really nothing personal. I am pulling for BYU. I want to see them do well. But BYU fans saying, oh, the Daniels punt and the turnover and this and that. It's like, it's called being part of a football game. That's how it goes sometimes. And you guys had a lot of great plays throughout the season and great moments throughout the season that broke your way. Right? So now at Happy, that's football. You can't get every single break. So BYU is number 5 this week. At number 4, I've got the Arizona State Sun Devils, up from number 10. And man, did I catch some crap from ASU fans when I had them at 10 still over the last couple of weeks. And listen, a lot of it too was just about what I was watching. Last week, they beat UCF, but they weren't really the better team most of the night. UCF made some boneheaded plays, and Scadaboo's out. And I'm like, okay, while their record is what it is, do I really think they're a top 5 or 6 team in the conference? I was not convinced. You go to Manhattan, you win in one of the toughest environments in the Big 12. You get your star running back. It opens up the offense for Sam Levitt and everybody else. And suddenly, I'm thinking to myself, this is a real deal team that Kenny Dillingham has. It's their best win of the year. So when you have your best win of the year on the road in one of the toughest environments in the Big 12 at night, I will give you a tremendous amount of credit for it. And that's how Arizona State is up to number 4 on our power rankings. And I am starting a movement for Arizona State fans. And we posted this on our X page at Heartland_CS. I will post it on Instagram as well. Follow us there at Heartland College Sports. But I am starting a movement in Tempe called the Kenny Crazies. I want to see you guys out there with your Kenny Crazies shirts. We're selling them at Heartland College Sports. I will put it up on our Instagram. You can see it there on the Instagram stories. Will be the first place to see it. It's also on X. You can see a link to it there. The Kenny Crazies, because, man, you want to keep this guy around. He is the real deal for Arizona State. So grab yourself a Kenny Crazies t-shirt that we'll have pumping out all over our social media pages in the days ahead. At number 3 in the power rankings this week, Baylor up from number 4. Baylor's won 4 in a row in the Big 12. They just took complete care of West Virginia on Saturday, and they are playing great football, and no one's really talking about them. Dave Aranda's coming back for the 2025 season. All signs are pointing up in Waco. An 8-4 finish is not out of the question, believe it or not. Who would have said that a month and a half ago for Baylor? And you've got a lot of guys returning, man. A lot of really good players coming back for this Baylor team on both sides of the ball. So don't look now, but Baylor may be one of these sneaky teams we talk a lot about during the offseason. At number 2, I'm putting the Kansas Jayhawks there, up from number 6. You go to Provo, Utah, you win a night game there. That is damn impressive. And it's even more impressive when you're Kansas. And guess what? You're the only team in Big 12 play to win back-to-back games against ranked teams. Nobody else in the conference during conference play has done this. Win 2 straight games, back-to-back weeks against ranked opponents. They did it with Iowa State. They did it with BYU. Winning in Provo on the road is no easy task. And there are Jalen Daniels fumble against Kansas State from winning 4 straight games. So I don't know what more you'd want to see to justify Kansas being in the spot that it's in. Oh, and they are winning 2 straight games over ranked teams in back-to-back games for the first time since 1995. They are sneaky good right now. They will play Colorado this week. I would want no part of KU. I told you that last week. I picked KU to cover the spread in Provo, and they didn't just cover it, but of course they got the outright win. They will play a massive role in the Big 12 title race down the stretch. KU is well deserving of number 2 in my power rankings this week. And then at number 1, the Colorado Buffaloes. That's right. They continue to prove that they are the best team in the Big 12. A massive 49-24 win over Utah. They trailed early. They got back on track. The offense has the stars we all know about, but the defense is rapidly improving front to back. It's the best team in the Big 12 conference right now. If you've got to roll the dice in the college football playoff and you want to see the conference win, you want Colorado in the playoff. Like, if you don't care about the team, if you're just a Big 12 fan and your team is out of it, but you want to see the Big 12 well represented, the best bet for the Big 12 right now is to roll into the college football playoff with Colorado. That doesn't mean I'm rooting for Colorado. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying or misinterpret my points here. I'm just noting that the best team in the league to go into a college football playoff right now in this conference and make some noise is the Colorado Buffaloes. So there you have the power rankings from 16 up to number 1 this week in the Big 12 Conference. I'm Pete Mundo. We're Heartland College Sports. Welcome in to the show. We appreciate you being here. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel as always. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So where are we at in this Big 12 title race? Well, here's what we've got. We've got 4 teams in contention. BYU and Colorado are both 6-1 in Big 12 play. Arizona State and Iowa State are both 5-2. So here's what we know. This comes courtesy of the Big 12 Conference, some scenarios in which we could see spots in the Big 12 championship secured. Here are the clinching scenarios as we head into Week 13. BYU earns a spot in the Big 12 championship game with a win over Arizona State and a Utah win over Iowa State. You got that? BYU gets in this week if they beat Arizona State and Utah upsets Iowa State. Then if you're BYU, you don't have to worry about your final regular season game against Houston in 2 weeks. You can rest if you want to for the Big 12 championship. Meantime, Colorado secures a berth with a win over Kansas and wins by BYU and Utah. So Colorado gets in. If they beat Kansas this weekend, Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, home of the Chiefs, they're doing construction at Memorial Stadium, so that game's being played in Kansas City, Missouri, not in Lawrence, Kansas. And BYU get to win over Arizona State, and Utah beats Iowa State. So basically, if these three teams win this weekend, we know what our Big 12 championship game is going to be. It will be BYU and Colorado. If BYU wins, Colorado wins, and then Utah upsets Iowa State. Because naturally, Arizona State at that point would have 3 losses because they would have lost to BYU. And then you've also got Iowa State, who would have 3 losses because they would have lost at that point to Utah. So that's the most unlikely, obviously, of those 3 games, and that would be Utah, which just looks like it is totally down in the dumps, upsetting Iowa State. But hey, anything can happen, and Iowa State, I mean, they're 5-2, and they looked better in the second half, but you got to go to Salt Lake City for the first time as a program. That is not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. So we'll have to see how it plays out. It's going to be a heck of a weekend in the Big 12 Conference. And man, I cannot wait to see how this thing plays out. We will get some chaos, though, in Week 14 if Arizona State beats BYU at home. And then if Colorado loses to Kansas and Iowa State gets its win against Utah, then we've got total chaos, because then what we have is 4 2-loss teams going into Week 14 of the regular season. That is the situation, let's be honest, the Big 12 wants to avoid. The Big 12 wants nothing to do with tiebreakers this year. There was some drama at the end of last season with the tiebreakers. They don't want to deal with that again. They want, I mean, you got to, because you've got 16 teams. You can't play a round robin. I miss those days in the Big 12 when you had 10 teams, 9 conference games. You knew who was going. It was very simple to figure out. Those days are over. And that's true in every conference. You get rid of divisions, and everybody can't play everybody, so you've got this mess of a tiebreaker scenario. But if Arizona State beats BYU, Colorado loses to Kansas, and Iowa State beats Utah, it will be an insane week of drama and figuring out tiebreakers and everything else in the Big 12. I'm not going to lie, that would be good for me, for business, but it wouldn't be clean for the conference. I'll embrace the chaos if I had to do it, but I'm just saying that is not what the Big 12 wants to see happen. They want this thing clean. They probably want BYU and Colorado. Those are 2 huge brands. You got Deion Sanders and Coach Prime back in Arlington, Texas. That would be a wet dream for Brett Yormark. Oh, my goodness, he'd be on cloud 9. But let's see how the games play out, because Kansas is no easy out. BYU going to Arizona State is going to be tough. I saw Kenny Dillingham was already hyping up his guys and his fans, saying, do not sell your tickets to BYU fans. We've got some Arizona State and BYU fans on our forums, which I hope you'll join if you haven't yet. They're free. BYU fans are on our forums at heartlandcollegesports.com saying that there are going to be 20% BYU fans there this weekend. I don't know if that's true, but I looked up the secondary market, and it's at least $250 to get into that game. in Tempe on Saturday. When is the last time the get-in price for Arizona State football was $250? I mean, please, somebody tell me that. I cannot fathom that happening anytime in recent memory. So it is going to be a real hot ticket. It is going to be a great scene in Tempe. It is one of the great games of the weekend, and not just the Big 12, but frankly in college football. No matter what the bum Desmond Howard over at College Game Day says, guy didn't even realize Arizona State was still in the mix. I hope you know now, Des Howard. Schmuck. Unbelievable. All right, you can get into general admission in Tempe for $215. A seat's going to run you $240 on StubHub, and that is before you get to the fees. Did I mention we need a ticket partner here at Heartland College Sports? We are looking for great partners. So if you run a business or you're part of a business that wants to reach hundreds of thousands of passionate Big 12 fans, just drop me an email, Mundo at heartlandcollegesports.com. We're looking for the right partner to join us as the show continues to grow. So thank you guys for being here as always and joining us on Heartland College Sports. Now, I want to spend a few minutes on this Chris Klieman situation. A very weird situation for Chris Klieman. I'm Pete Mundo. We're Heartland College Sports. We cover the Big 12 Conference. Thanks for being a part of the show. So he got very emotional after the game on Saturday against Arizona State. And he talked about letting his guys down. And he talked about, he's really disappointed in himself. And it went viral. He was choked up at times. And it was strange. I'm not going to lie. It was strange. He said, I'm hurting for those kids. It's been a really hard 2 weeks for me. And I feel awful for the older guys that had my back. I let them down. Now, maybe this is just a coach who just loves this team and loves these players. But it got a lot of people talking. Rumors started flying all over the place about his health, what his status was, what was his future going to be with the program. It just had a weird vibe to it. The clip is all over Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. You can see it there. He just, he gets emotional. He takes these pauses. He gets choked up. It was strange. I'm not going to lie. I've seen a million of these coaches do these post-game press conferences. And while it knocked K-State out of the Big 12 race, it's not like they lost the national championship on a last-second field goal here. I mean, come on. So then fast forward to Monday, and Coach Klieman gets asked a question about retirement rumors. And he shot it down right away. He did not want to hear it. He didn't want to talk about it. And I will read you exactly what he said. Chris Klieman said to the retirement rumor question at the press conference on Monday, I think it was our buddy Tim Fitzgerald at Go Power Cat. He said, I don't know where you got that from. I haven't said that to anybody. Okay. That's weird. Now, why is that a weird thing to say? Well, if I'm not going anywhere, I don't know. Just me, that's not how I answer the question. He said, I haven't said that to anybody. He didn't say, I'm not going anywhere. He didn't say, I'm here for the next 10 years. He didn't say, that's a ridiculous question, although I know he's a nice guy. He said, I haven't said that to anybody. That's not exactly a direct answer to the question. And then Gene Taylor, the K-State athletic director, he chimed in a few seconds later, and he's like, yeah, I'd be annoyed if Klieman retired. Har, 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 har. And then Klieman joked about how he'd be in trouble for not talking about retirement first with his wife, who's currently out of town. Now, this comes up after he had, of course, some, a minor health issue. Something happened during the Kansas game a couple of weeks ago. No one's really clear on what exactly it was, but some kind of minor medical issue happened during the Kansas game for Klieman. And obviously combine that with some of what's been going on here lately, and it's making people wonder what exactly Chris Klieman's status is. And I get it. That is a strange answer from Chris Klieman. You can't say that's a direct, pointed answer to that question. It's not. And it makes you wonder, Like, I don't think he put that rumor to rest with that answer on Monday. And he had to know the rumor was out there, right? I mean, these guys, I know they're in their own bubble, but they're not naive to what's going on in the outside world, what the fans are talking about. That was not like, no way, no how, I'm not going anywhere. That's not what he said. He said, once again, to give you the quote from Chris Klieman on Monday, he said, I don't know where you got that from. I haven't said that to anybody. Maybe a poor choice of words. Maybe just a bad answer to a reasonable question. But, man, you'd hope he'd clarify those remarks at some point whenever he does talk to the media next, because if not, the kind of ambiguous nature of that one is one that's going to, unfortunately, only potentially have more legs. I'm Pete Mundo. We're Heartland College Sports. We cover the Big 12. Thank you for joining us as a part of the show. Hit the thumbs up on the video. It does mean a lot to us. It's silly, but it means a lot to us when you do it. So thank you guys for being here as a part of the show. Just rolling through some of your comments here. Let's see. What do we have? Pete, Neil Brown doesn't care if he wins or not. Pay me to leave or pay me to wreck your program. Now, hold on a second. Dana Holgorsen was a program wrecker. Neil Brown's not a program wrecker. He's just not building it enough to make you trust the climb. Frankly, he hasn't really had the quarterback. I know he's loved Garrett Green, but I have not seen Garrett Green develop as the passer that you need to have to win at this level. I think he's almost put too much stock into Garrett Green at times. I know he's good with his legs, but listen, if Neil Brown goes or Neil Brown stays, or if he goes, let's put it that way, the program will be in a better place than it was when Dana Holgorsen bolted town and left the cupboard totally empty. That was a total rebuild. He did the same thing at Houston. Look at what he left Willie Fritz in Houston. It's a mess. Now, Houston's actually had some nice wins. Fritz has hit the portal. He's going to recruit well. I like Willie Fritz. I think he's going to succeed. But Dana Holgorsen's a program record. Neil Brown is not a program record. Snappy AJ, I haven't noticed. Is anybody checking on Oklahoma State fans? We are not okay. Well, you shouldn't be okay. You're what? You're 0-7 in the Big 12. You shouldn't be okay. I don't blame you for not being okay. But I will leave you with this. As we talk about the college football playoff over the next couple of weeks, obviously, down the home stretch of the season. Oklahoma State is 0-7 in the Big 12. They beat Arkansas. USC is 3-5 in the Big 10. They beat LSU. Cal is 1-5 in the ACC. They beat Auburn. Georgia State is 0-6 in the Sun Belt. They beat Vanderbilt. Next time you hear the bums on ESPN talking about maybe a 4-loss SEC team can get into the college football playoff. I say that tongue-in-cheek, but you get the point. It's ridiculous, the scenarios they make up for the SEC to get as many teams possible into the playoff. Just remember that. I don't think the Big 12 has multiple CFP bids right now. I'm always going to be straight with you. I don't think they do. I'm not convinced they deserve more than one right now. But I know this jamming in trying to get half a dozen SEC teams in is comical. The SEC appears to have a couple of very good teams at the top, but when you look at some of the teams that SEC teams have lost to, oh my goodness. Oklahoma State beating Arkansas, USC beating LSU, Cal beating Auburn, Georgia State beating Vanderbilt. Tell me again about how great, look at the losses. I always hear that in the SEC. Look at the losses. Oh, Arkansas, they beat Tennessee. But Arkansas is a good team. That's a tough team. They lost to Oklahoma State, who stinks. Spare me, please. Give it up. Oh, it's just beyond ridiculous. And with that, call it a night. Cheers. Have a great day. We'll be back soon here on Heartland College Sports. I got a lot of videos trying to get some guests on the show this week to talk about these last couple of weeks in the Big 12. So make sure you're here, you're subscribed, hit the thumbs up, and thank you guys so much for joining us as a part of the best growing Big 12 network out there. Go Big 12. Go Heartland College Sports. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.